Okay. Do we not have Miss Silver joining us this morning? We may just have to keep it going without Miss Silver, Karen. I wasn't able to reach her since we did the run of show meeting, and she hasn't logged in yet.
Okay. No worries.
So we can go ahead and.
Raven, is there something that you need covered from a chamber standpoint that I can do that she was going to do?
If you want to join and be one of our panelists.
What was she planning to cover?
Oh, she was just joining the discussion to just give her input about the whole topic of rebirthing small businesses.
Oh, okay. No, I won't do that. Yeah, I won't do that. Y'all will be fine.
We have all of our panelists are actually from the Northern Nevada and Reno areas. So
Yep.
she was just our Northern Nevada chamber who was going to join us.
Right. Now y'all will be fine.
All right, so I do believe we've gone live already, and we have a couple of attendees.
I'm gonna get some water really quickly. I'll be right back.
Good morning, everyone. We'll be starting in a few moments. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and welcome to the session 4 of the Small Business Webinar Series. My name is Amaya. I'm from Some New Marketing. So Some New Marketing and the Urban Chamber have partnered to bring this webinar series to our community because these conversations are needed and the actions that need to follow are critical. The goal of this webinar series is to create a town hall-like environment where the community partners can talk about efforts in diversity and inclusion, SWOT analysis of minority businesses, and the resources available to overcome some of the barriers and build business acumen and capacity, while also engaging the local minority business owners. This will also serve as a platform to inform the business community about the upcoming NDOT's disparity study and how their participation will be necessary and may prove to be conducive to the improvement of the current systems in place. Our last session included some of our leadership from some of our political representatives and liaisons. And today's session will include some of our community liaisons in the Reno and Northern Nevada area. Again, thank you for joining us, and we hope that this information proves to be valuable to each of you. At this time, I would like to introduce our moderator, Karen Coe. Karen Coe is the operations manager for the Nevada Small Business Development Center and the project manager for Made in Nevada. She has been with the Nevada SBDC for 6 years and works in the Reno at the University of Nevada in the Reno location. Ms. Coe has a Master of Science in Psychology and an undergraduate degree in Psychology. Ms. Coe has specific experience with human resources, financial analysis, budgeting, grant writing, project management, office run, operations management, and the Boston Red Sox. Karen is a 4-year volunteer with the TEDx University of Nevada, where she manages the financial end of this event. Now I will hand it over to Ms. Karen Coe.
Thanks, Amaya. It's great to be here, everybody. I'm happy to be included and honored, of course, to be working with Some New Marketing, my friends and colleagues there, as well as the Urban Chamber. So I'm happy to be here this morning, and we're going to get right into it and talk a little bit about the disparity study. And before we do that, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Raven McSwain, who's the marketing coordinator for Some New Marketing. Raven is a transplant from Chicago, Illinois. She's passionate about the development and success of the small community. And through her personal brand, she has established relationships with several community partners. She previously introduced to Some New as a small business liaison for contractors in the community in 2014, and then as a product of a small business, a local minority contractor. She later joined the Some New family in 2019, and she brings unique experience in project management, coordination, overseeing the administration of the programs, strategic planning, small business development, and grassroots outreach with public and private entities in collaboration with strategic alliances. As the marketing coordinator at Some New, Raven manages client relations and ensures that the Some New team delivers with quality and care, and that I can speak to. So here you go, Raven.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Karen. And good morning, everyone. As Karen said, I'm here to give you guys information about the upcoming NDOT disparity study. NDOT is conducting a statewide disparity study of its DBE program, the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program, to ensure that the program remains narrowly tailored and that the DBEs have equal access to contracting opportunities. For those of you who are unfamiliar with a disparity study involves a compilation of evidence to determine whether or not NDOT has a strong enough basis for implementing race and gender conscious contracting remedies and to narrowly tailor their programs. It includes statistical evidence of disparities, if any, between the availability of DBEs in the state of Nevada and their utilization on state and federally funded projects and related subcontracts and throughout the area economy as a whole. On this specific study, Colette Holden and Associates is a nationally recognized expert team on disparity studies and DBE programs, and they are leading us in partnership along with Some New Marketing, Erica Aviles Consulting, and Deborah Campbell and Associates, so that we can make sure we try to reach the entire small and diverse business community. So next slide, please. The disparity study objective is to provide current evidence regarding the utilization and availability of DBEs. We want to analyze whether the DBEs in Nevada the contract goals for DBEs in Nevada, remain necessary to ensure a level playing field for all firms and to make sure that the small and diverse businesses have an opportunity to compete. This disparity study will further examine the factors necessary for entrepreneurial success, and such as the access to business capital, bonding, networks, and suppliers. It'll also gather anecdotal data to present race and sex discrimination, to show if there's any race or sex discrimination and the impact of the DBE program overall. And finally, the study will review NDOT's programming activities and make recommendations for future initiatives and enhancements, including data collection to assist the NDOT in setting their project-specific and overall goals. So the study will have two components. It'll be the quantitative process in which Colette Holden Associates will collect and analyze NDOT's current and past contract data, as well as help them determine the DBE availability in the state of Nevada and examine the Nevada market area economy. The qualitative process, which Some New, Erica Aviles Consulting, and Deborah Campbell and Associates is playing a major role in, will help them collect anecdotal data from the stakeholder organizations, such as our wonderful panelists today, and the business owners, which we hope are joining us this morning to get this information through the interviews with them, because we'll get written comments and we'll do an electronic survey to get further information from all of you guys. Next slide. The anecdotal data that our firms will be collecting will help NDOT decide if the program is necessary, if elements of the program need to be changed or enhanced, what contract goals should be set, how the contract goals should be set, and things of that nature. And we are here to share this information, and we have all of our partners helping us and sharing information amongst their memberships, because the business owner participation is very critical. We need to hear from the business owners who have worked with NDOT, are currently working with NDOT, or desire to work with NDOT, just to make sure that we get all information that is necessary to analyze their current program and to see what needs to be changed or adjusted, or if anything needs to be changed or adjusted. So that's why we're here sharing this information with you guys, and we wanted to make this platform available to you to get the information about the program and to also get information about resources that will help you compete, so that you are eligible to compete on NDOT projects. I'm sorry about that. So next slide. For those of you who would like to participate in the study, I would suggest you screenshot this information. This just tells you the small business owner meetings are scheduled to start tentatively mid-September, and they'll go through the end of October, in which we will then be collecting electronic surveys to get information from the business owners, and written comments are also accepted throughout the process. Information can be found at the website provided here, or requested by sending an email to the email address here or calling that phone number. I'll also drop this information in the chat box for anyone who is interested. And if there are any additional questions, you guys can also reach out to Some New Marketing about these business owner meetings. And that is all I have for the NDOT disparity study. Please let me know, or somebody on this panel know, if you need additional information, and we'd be glad to help.
Thank you so much, Raven. I appreciate that, getting us all up to speed. I'm going to go ahead before we dig right into this discussion. I'm going to introduce our panelists that we have joining us this morning. Ann Silver couldn't make it today. We will miss her input, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce our first panelist, Bob Riccitelli. He's a business mentor with SCORE of Northern Nevada. They're a resource partner of the USSBA, just like the Nevada Small Business Development Center that I work for. So Bob's a retired technology executive who earned his Bachelor's of Science in Business from Syracuse University and a Master of Applied Science in Telecommunications Management from the University of Denver. He has over 40 years of experience in sales and marketing. Bob actually began his career in the telecom industry, and it was during a period of rapid change when it first began to be deregulated in the 1970s. He spent 27 years with Nortel Networks and doing various operational and technical support roles before being moved to direct sales and eventually to his last position at Nortel as president of the enterprise accounts for North America. Bob lived and worked in Europe as vice president for EMEA for Real Networks, and most recently, vice president for cloud vertical at Juniper Networks, where his team was responsible for the highest growth sector at Juniper, which included Google, Facebook, Amazon, and other large cloud companies. Throughout his career, Bob worked for several small tech startup businesses based in Silicon Valley. Welcome, Bob. We're excited to have you today as a partner from SCORE.
Thank you.
Our next panelist has a long history of excellent leadership, people development, and community service. She's the president and chief executive officer for Guardian Quest Incorporated, an organization that specializes in providing diversity, inclusion, leadership, organizational development, training, and consulting solutions for educational, governmental, corporate, and military clients across North America. In addition to her work speaking, training, and coaching, she continues to serve her community. So of course, I'm talking about Dr. Angie Taylor, and she earned her doctorate in educational leadership. She holds a master's degree in public administration and policy and a bachelor's degree in business administration, all from the University of Nevada, Reno. Go Wolfpack, shout out. Dr. Taylor served on numerous committees, task force, and boards for the university and also her local community. And nationally, she's received many awards and recognitions for her work in leadership and her community. In December 2014, she was appointed to the Washoe County School District Board of Trustees, becoming the first African American to serve in that capacity. In January of 2016, she was elected board president by her board colleagues, and most recently, she was elected by the citizens in District E to serve a full 4-year term, beginning in January 2017. Her colleagues selected her to serve a second term as president through 2017. She's a passionate, energetic presenter, and she's dedicated her life to making people and organizations better. She recently penned her first book. Congratulations to you, Dr. Taylor.
Thank you.
Leadership Matters, Lessons That Shaped My Leadership, which is highly sought after whenever she speaks. The Reverend Dr. Taylor is also an ordained minister, and she serves as the administrative assistant pastor at the Greater Light Christian Center in Reno, Nevada. Dr. Taylor's passionate, obviously you can tell she's passionate about many things, including education, diversity, inclusion, leadership, faith, and she has intentionally positioned herself to work within those areas in her community. Welcome, Dr. Taylor. We're excited to have you.
Good morning, Karen. I'm excited to be here.
Finally, our last panelist is a good friend of mine and a colleague, Sandra Rentis. She's a Hispanic business advisor here for the Nevada Small Business Development Center. Sandra obtained her bachelor's degree in marketing from Catholic University of Puerto Rico, and she has her master's degree in economics from the University of Nevada, Reno. She's our Hispanic business development advisor, as mentioned, here for the Nevada SBDC, and has been working for us since 2007. We're super lucky to have Sandra here at the SBDC. Ms. Rentis is responsible for conducting business opportunities, research. She provides advising and information to potential entrepreneurs on how to start, expand, and operate a business, amongst many other things that she does here for us. Sandra is a certified instructor for the Next Level Entrepreneurial course, and she has an export certification from the US SBA Small Business Administration. As a bilingual counselor, trainer, and staff member for the Nevada SBDC, and a native of Puerto Rico, Sandra's abilities are greatly enhanced due to her cultural heritage, her language, and her communication strengths, and her comfort level in working with clients all across Nevada and the world. She's worked with clients from Central America, South America, Europe, Russia, India, Asia, and Africa. So as you guys can see, you're in very good hands with our panel. Welcome, Sandra. We're excited to have you on board. As we get started here, hopefully all my panelists can see and hear, and we're all good to go. I want to just mention, as previously as Raven had stated, that a disparity study is extremely important to help us understand if there are any barriers or opportunities for increased diversity that exist among our minority small businesses in Nevada. So we know that diversity shows extreme economic impact in many areas, including sports, entertainment, and other areas of business here in our great state. So what exactly does diversity and inclusion mean to our panelists? How does it impact our overall economy in the state? I'll lead off with you, Bob, if you want to pitch in and answer about that.
Sure.
New to our great state, but give us some insight.
Yes. So at SCORE, our mission is to foster small businesses and provide resources such as mentors like myself, as well as a lot of educational resources that are available on score.com. So if you Google SCORE, there's many resources there that can help small businesses in a variety of ways. So as far as diversity and inclusion, we're trying to ensure that our resources at SCORE address the needs of our clients' diverse backgrounds. So if you look at the website and if you look at our mentors, we try to reflect that both in the background of our mentors as well as in the content that's on the site available to clients. And the best part of it is all the resources from SCORE, including the mentors and all the resources on the website, are free. So it's very helpful for small business owners or entrepreneurs that are trying to start businesses to be able to get a broad array of resources both on the site and from mentors like myself. And we do it to give back. There's no charge. By the way, when you were explaining my background, I was very glad that I'm now retired. It sounded very tiring.
Well, we're grateful for SCORE here at the Nevada SBDC. We collaborate with you guys a lot, and we have a similar mission and vision. And of course, we rely on you guys with our small businesses to help us because you have such a diverse array of volunteers that work with you. So thank you so much. Dr. Taylor, how do you feel, especially with the work that you do? You're really prominent in your community, but also your education speaks to a level of involvement with small businesses as well, for the importance of that diversity and inclusion and how it impacts our national and our local economy. You're muted.
There we are. All right. Thank you, Karen, and thank you, Raven, and Signal Marking for having me. I'm honored to be a part of the panel and to get like-minded people, all of us in small business and whatnot together. Those are always great discussions. First, for diversity and inclusion, really diversity is just differences. I mean, it's a lot of different things, but at the end of the day, it boils down to differences. And as we look at our economy here in Nevada, the diversification of our economy, if it wasn't clear to everybody that we really need to do more of that, it should be right now, being in this side, not the end of, but the side of the COVID crisis, when we're opening back up. So much of our economy, 70-80%, I believe, is still tied into hospitality. And that being the case, when we shut down, right, and closed all the casinos and so on for the safety of our state, that we really took everybody took a hit, but we took a bigger hit disproportionately upon our size because our economy is so focused there. So when I look at it in this context, is the diversification of our business enterprise in Nevada continues to be a big issue, and more as these crises hit, we suffer more because of that. Now the inclusion piece, really, once you have people that are different in an individual standpoint, once you have businesses that are different, then we need to make room for them. We need to make space for them. We need to let them come be and do what it is that they be, and that they are and that they do. From an individual standpoint, it's one thing to have different people that come work for the organization. But if the culture in the organization is not open and ready to receive people that don't look, live, or love like them, then that person won't stay. It isn't a welcoming environment. It isn't a safe environment. It isn't a place where I can do my best work. Because if I can't bring my whole self to work, then I can't do my best work. I'm spending so much energy trying not to be who I really am so I can fit in. And so when we look at when I deal with clients in terms of diversity and inclusion, most people are really starting to get, we should have diversity, okay, but it's not about counting heads. It's not about how many of this group, how many of that group, how many of this group, and we have this great picture on the wall and it says we are a diverse team and it's diversity. You know, it doesn't work that way, right? But how are these people able to do their best work and to really be a part of the organization and bring their ideas, their innovation, their loyalty, their recruiting for other great people that have different ideas and so on. We make the best decisions when we have people that are not like us, that don't think like us, bring their perspectives. Because some stuff, Bob has this tremendous background in technology. He's going to have an idea. He's going to have a perspective on a problem in a very different way than I do because I don't have that background. That means between the two of us working on a problem, we're going to come up with a better solution than I could do by myself. Now, he may not need me, but I would certainly need him, right? And that's what it is. So when we look at it from a state standpoint, it's really the same thing. I mean, if we have businesses that have different areas of interest and different areas of focus, and in the North, we do a little better at this than they do in the South because the gaming industry isn't as large of a part of our community. The Reno Tahoe Industrial Park has brought some of that. Then we need to begin to think differently about our rules, our policies, our laws, and business practices. And as we bring more people in. So that's probably more than you wanted to know, but you start talking about D&I and I get excited.
I love it. Your energy is amazing. I wish I had just like an ounce of your energy.
This is actually my first cup of coffee.
You're absolutely right. I mean, it takes a village. And especially when we talk about themes like disparity studies, where we really are trying to figure out if there is equal opportunity for these minority small businesses, because we do need that diverse landscape to infuse our economy here locally in Nevada, as well as nationally. So thank you. I think you hit the nail right on the head. Sandra, what's your input here on diversity and inclusion as far as your viewpoint from working with Hispanic clients primarily here in Northern Nevada?
I think it's very important, and I agree with Bob and Angie as well. Angie, I miss your energy, and I know I agree with you, like it takes a village. For me personally, diversity is traits and makes people unique. And we need that in the business environment. That brings creativity, innovation. So because I speak Spanish and I deal with the Hispanic clients. So they bring different ideas from the home countries. It could be Mexico, it could be Central America, it could be South America. So it is important, and it is important to really, those are the people, and they're very hardworking people. It is important for our economy to bring together and to work all together to have great ideas, different business opportunities. And I think it's important, diversity and inclusion in the business environment. And that, as I mentioned before, that brings creativity, innovation, as Angie mentioned, with different perspective to resolving a problem, to view things, to look at things, and then to create a successful business. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think today, especially in the dynamic we have currently in our country, I think the more we know and appreciate different perspectives, it's lessens that ignorance around, critical topics that are so key right now to our nation. So of course, that's all very important. So what we're talking about today specifically is a renaissance for small businesses, which a renaissance basically is just a rebirth for small businesses. And of course, in Nevada, like Aunt Dr. Taylor mentioned, it's key right now with the pandemic, how many of these small businesses are trying to survive. So in your experience with small companies, what do they really need to start a business and make it attractive for contracting in the first place? Because contracting is a whole separate piece. You can have a very successful small business and still not get the opportunity to work with a contractor with NDOT or any other company for that matter. So Bob, what would you say in your experience is really key to make that happen for these small businesses that are listening in today?
Yeah, so two things. I think obviously a business plan is always something that you need to start with, both from a marketing and financial perspective. Also, in my experience, and having been in sales for 40 years, government and those kinds of proposals are much more complicated and difficult, especially for a smaller business. In many cases, they require a lot of financial insurance and bonds, and the responses are very, very rigid. In terms of, it's usually some type of documented response that if you don't make it accurate, you can get thrown out even before your project is being reviewed. So I think it would be important to ensure that you have some resources that have some experience with those processes, as well as you have a solid business plan, because you're going to have to show that in any of these that say, you have the cash, you have the insurance, you have all of the business requirements. And I think certainly at SCORE, with the wide range of backgrounds that we have here, it would be a good resource for anyone that's trying to get involved to maybe go on there and see if there's a mentor that could help build those foundations that you would need to be successful in that process.
Well, you're absolutely right. And the Nevada SBDC, Sandra, I'm going to have you pop in here as well and state maybe what you're seeing as a primary need. I agree, a business plan is essential. Obviously, you have to have your licensing in place and those things that are so key. And with contracting, Sandra, do you have anything extra to add when you see clients that are trying to do that? Like, what's the most important ingredient? Are you with me, Sandra? Can you hear me, Sandra? Nope, I got nothing. Dr. Taylor, can you hear me? Do you want to respond? Take a moment.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I lost you for a second. Okay. So I agree with Bob regarding to start a business, you need to find, you need to create a business plan. It's important, look at the finances. What is the legal structure that you need? Especially doing government contracting, sometimes they don't like to be a sole proprietorship. They need an LLC, they like prefer a corporation. Do you have the capacity to fulfill those contracts? So pick good your partners, understand the small business tax requirements. Exactly as Bob said, sometimes you need a certification from your tax return from the CPA. And that's what I teach this class, NX level, because for the Hispanic community. So I give the foundation to the community to what is important to starting a business. And then you transition to the government contracting. And then when you start a business, you have to narrow down what is that makes you different. How are you going to do your marketing? What is your strategy? What is your mission, your vision? So everything is important, and regarding starting a business, that's important. And when you nail that, then you will be ready to do government contracting. Yes.
Yeah, you touched on something really important, Sandra, and it's the ability to produce. When you get a contract, a government contract, you have the ability to mass produce your product. Sometimes our small business owners have a great idea and they can, they have the supply for a small amount, but when they land a government contract, all of a sudden, it's that panic of, can I make this much product? I mean, I do think that's a piece that people look at when they are discussing government contracting. Is that right? Would you say that's accurate, Sandra?
It is accurate. You know, there are a lot of moving pieces, you know, and then that's why it's good. That's why we are counselors, and Bob is a mentor in SCORE. We sit down with you, we talk, we analyze, we brainstorm ideas, we do market research, and then how you will be able to get those contracts. But it's at the beginning, it's better to understand what is the foundation of starting a business and then to transition. Yes.
And Dr. Taylor, you have experience, of course, with entrepreneurship, and I'm just wondering what you feel is important as a previous small business owner, I think, and an entrepreneur, how what you think is key to being successful in that area.
Really what I would say, and please call me Angie, please, Karen. You're stumbling just like, you know I'm Angie. No, Angie, for Pete's sakes. I appreciate it, thank you, but it's not that serious. I would just, I mean, great information really from the technical pieces of it, from Bob and from Sandra. This is what they do every day, and I mean, certainly when I didn't start Guardian Quest, but I acquired Guardian Quest as a company, and as I had to kind of review from that standpoint, I went and spent plenty of time with Sandra up on campus to get help and ideas and from everywhere from designing my business cards, and she gave me a lead on that, and I had a great design on it, and I still use parts of it, you know, now, and the look, and it just from little things to big things, to putting the business plan together, as Bob talked about. I mean, those things are really important. And those are things that as much education as I had and so on, I had never done that, right? I'd worked and I'd led departments and been a leader and all this stuff, but I'd never done that. So, and really, I know I'm on the school board, but it doesn't feel like a side hustle, but it's a side hustle. I mean, it's this much of a job, but it takes this much of my time, energy, effort, and so on. But yes, I still run my business. And one of the things that I've learned, because I think it's really important as business leaders, that we continue to grow, we continue to learn, we continue to get involved in webinars and go to conferences, and if you need some help, you know, look up SCORE. And I think I only met one time with the SCORE mentor, but I got some good questions answered for me. We have to continue to learn and grow. But I think from a business, if there's one piece of advice that I got that has really always stayed with me, is you have to solve a problem. You have to solve a problem. And I do such a great job at making whatever. There's not if you made masks a year ago, that would not be a good business, because we didn't need a mask. It wasn't solving the problem, right? You have to solve a problem. The problem is this, and this is what my company or me or whatever, this is how we solve that problem in a unique way, in a better way, in a faster way, in a more innovative way, whatever the case may be. But if we're not solving a problem, why would someone come to use our business? And that helps me from not just what we do, but also in how we sell what we do. It's finding, here's that problem from this client, or from this that potentially, so in this marketing piece I'm putting together, or this social media ad campaign I'm throwing out there, whatever, I've got to talk about, here is a problem that I solve. And so that was a key piece of I mean, there's several, but there's one key piece of advice that continues to ring with me, and believe it or not, I got it from Shark Tank.
Well, that's an excellent piece of advice, and actually you answered one of my questions. You talked a little bit about making PPP, and of course we're in an unprecedented time right now for small businesses with the pandemic, and you just answered a question, but what advice would you give these small businesses right now that are trying to negotiate and navigate this world of a pandemic with all the changes in the industry? You know, we have challenges happening every day. So Angie, I think that's excellent advice. You know, you have to adapt. You adapt or you die, and in the small business world, that's key. So I guess then I'm going to put that out to Bob and Sandra, that what, you know, during this hard time, like what advice are you giving your small business owners about how specifically they can respond or reposition their business model to adapt to this client and be this changing time and be successful?
Well, certainly, you know, in any business, I think what you do is as important as what you don't do. And so getting some focus, making sure that you're not kind of panicked and spreading around and trying to move away from your core competency because maybe there's a temporary problem, created by something like the virus, which obviously is very serious. I think one thing that I've noticed with a couple of our clients or my clients, having a web presence is obviously critical. If someone can't come to your store or your restaurant, how do you get customers to engage in a way that works in the current environment? So it's surprising that even in this day and age, there are still businesses that are, especially the smaller shops and stores, and that don't have a web presence. There was a local store here in Incline Village, where I live, that had a transition from people coming in the store and buying their goods to people going on the web and buying their goods, and they've survived through this. And when they get to the other side of the pandemic, when we all do, that ability to sell things both virtually and in a store is going to be very advantageous to them. So in many cases, some of this adversity will help these businesses to become stronger and maybe more adaptive going forward.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I think the ability to access an Etsy or any kind of online, for Etsy for smaller companies, but any kind of online format is key right now to keeping these doors open for these small businesses. That's valuable advice. Thank you, Bob. Sandra, what do you think about what needs to happen, or have you worked with any companies that have had to change their business model, or what experience have you had with the pandemic and small businesses?
A lot of my businesses, they're doing delivery, and I agree with Bob. Sometimes the baby boomers, they used to go to the store and buy the goods, but currently they are the high risk population. So they have to be updated in the website. They need a website, they need what hours they can deliver for free. So I think that's another way that you can change your target market. It's true what Angie said, you can resolve a problem, maybe for a target market, but maybe this is an opportunity to maybe conquer, or approach another target markets. I was watching the news the other day, and this is a great example. In New York City, they're talked to the city, and they were allowing restaurants to put tables in the sidewalks. To have a car in New York City is a luxury and it's very expensive. So they were able to put tables so the restaurants can have more clients, and they have that 6 feet separation. That is great. So, and I think also regarding the PPP, you need to find out, be more tech savvy. I have a lot of clients that they couldn't have the tax return online. So I couldn't help them with the PPP, the accountant have it. So you need to have information and be ready, because this is a surprise. The COVID-19 was a totally surprise. So you need to be ready for changes. I think the world is changing rapidly. So have all the paperwork ready, learn, take classes, get some partners. I think now you can partner with everybody in the nation, and then your business can grow. So there's an opportunity now that to grow your business, to partner with other people, to transition, but also they need to also, at least for my population, the Hispanic, they need to learn more about the tech, the internet, have the website, be ready, because we are changing rapidly. So yes.
Well, and you hit on a good point, because so to me, the pandemic presented an opportunity for small businesses to allow their product to be seen all over the world, not just in Nevada. If you had a brick and mortar here locally, now you have the opportunity to put your product out to everybody virtually, Sandra. So you're right, if you're ready and you have a website, or you can implement that quickly, then more people will have access to your product, which is always just a win-win for any small business. We heard.
Can I throw in on that, Karen?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Let me give you a couple different views, different ways, because my business is, we're service oriented, right? We don't have a product. And so it's how do we, that word that everyone's using, how do we pivot? Because everyone's pivoting. You pivot your business. How do you pivot, right? And so the two pivots, if you will, that I was involved in, one had to do with the church. I mean, churches got closed down very early, just like businesses did in our state. And so many churches had to go online, and some, it took them a while to get there, because they didn't have, our church is a small church. So because we have me as administrative pastor, and I'm more involved in that, I could kind of push it, and then not because I made it, I didn't do it, but I knew who to go to make it happen. And you know, we have this, and they have different camera angles, and they're all iPhones, an iPad and some iPhones. We have all these different angles and background music and stuff going across the screen. I mean, it looks like we really know what we're doing. You know, and there's like 10 people in the church because that's all you could have at the time. But to be able to pivot and say, how do we do this? What do we do? And so, you know, and Facebook jumped on it. In most churches, if you didn't have your website that was able to do it, you jumped on Facebook Live and could do that right away. And then now there's all kinds of ways you can do it, Facebook Live, YouTube, and so on. And so one of the things that we've learned is we have people that watch on our Facebook Live or YouTube that we haven't seen in church since Moses attended. You know what I mean? You know, but they watch every Sunday. And so this is a way, so what churches are learning is, you know what, once this thing is over, and just as Bob was saying, when you get to the other side, we got to keep that going. Because that, you know, you want to serve your people, you want to bring the word of God to them so it can impact their lives. And if that means that people would prefer to be at home with their coffee, and this like Sandra talking about the baby boomers, this was a tough one because it's like, well, how do we do communion in our faith? We typically do communion on the first Sunday. How do you do communion? Well, when it was, I got to say, so go get a cracker, get a piece of cornbread, get a cookie, get with it, you know, get a sip of juice, coffee, water with it, because it's not like it's actually Christ's body anyway. I mean, it's all symbolic, but at church it's a, you know, a piece of something, a little wine or a little grape. So just get something, get whatever you have. And so it's like, we can do that. You know, it's not really Christ's blood, right? You know, it's grape juice. You know, it's wine, right? You know, and so it's just changing that mindset. You know, as Sandra was talking about, now younger people, they're like, all right, great, let's take communion. Older people, that's sacrilegious. It's like, but so it's changing that mindset in terms of making that pivot that we've been challenged with, is what I found. And then from my business standpoint, we have been talking about, my people are all over because we go train, we go 2 places, and we have an annual meeting every year in January. And our meeting in January, we said, you know what, we're gonna start playing around with online stuff, you know, when I get back from vacation, because I thought I was going on a cruise in Tokyo, but obviously that didn't quite work out. I was actually in Tokyo, by the way, and so was supposed to be on that ship, but that's another webinar. So we said, we're gonna talk when I get back from vacation, we're gonna really start work. Well, then we were forced to do it, to get online and do trainings online. And our trainings are very interactive, a lot of exercises and so on. And so it's made us pivot to, how do we do this and maintain what we think separates us, because they're very interactive and very energetic. You know, my team is great. They're all energetic like I am. I mean, anyway, it doesn't matter. So we had to really kind of create it. And we made up stuff. Hey, I had a client call, Angie, you know, we want to talk about your virtual offerings. You guys have some. We hadn't even done it before, sure. And we figured it out. You know, we've done hybrid classes where we have some people live, some people on Zoom. I mean, you figure it out. And now it's like, you know what, this is pretty cool. We don't have to travel, right? Because now everyone's at home, and they can get people from all over the world in one case, you know, to jump on. And so it's like, this is pretty okay. And we're figuring it out. So part of it is be okay with jumping out there and, you know, we're going to figure this out.
I agree 100%. It's excellent advice. You have to also be on top of it and ahead of it, you know, try and anticipate the things that might come, and kind of like Bob referred to, be able to switch back into your mode. And maybe you've expanded your business to be both a brick and mortar and online, or for you, Angie, you can do so many things and reach so many more people now because you've implemented that change, which is key to small business survival, really. Actually, personal survival.
Karen, I do have one more example.
Yeah.
If you allow me to share.
Yeah.
I do have a client, he's a chef, and then he prepares some ready to cook meals for kids, because a lot of the parents, they're having kids at home, so they can cook with the kids. So I think that was amazing, you know. So even the cooking school in Reno also, they have some baking kits, so a lot of baking come up. So people can be very creative, it's true, yes. So
that's amazing. What a great idea, right? We heard in some earlier sessions of this series that relationships, innovation, and describing services that fit a product or a client were the keys to starting or being reborn, having a renaissance. Let me say those again, that the main keys we've heard in other webinars in this series, the main keys to rebirthing your business are innovation, relationships, and then being able to have a project, describing a service that fits a project. And so do you guys agree with that, especially when it comes to getting a government contract perhaps, or like we've been talking about, adapting your business model? What do you guys think are the keys really to, you know, having a business renaissance or rebirthing your business to be available to be more successful?
So I think in any of these situations, whether it's with a government contract or trying to modify your business process to suit the current environment, you know, challenges come up all the time in business, and how you react to them determines the success or failure of your business. But in this case, I think 2 ears and 1 mouth, an early boss told me, were given to you for a reason. So you need to try to understand before you try to be understood. So listening and figuring out what the process is and understanding the objectives of that particular project or that particular RFP, if that's what it is, or that particular product need, understanding that first, and then structuring your comments or your pitch or your proposal around what the client or customer expects versus blowing into, and I was in sales for most of my career. And so the natural inclination is to go in and try to tell somebody all the great things that you can do for them, when the reality is you should find out what things they need first before you tell them all the things that your business or your entity can do for them. So I think, you know, trying to understand the situation and then structuring the proposal around those circumstances is a good start.
I agree. And I want to just ask you really quickly, because you've been in sales for so long, how important that relationship piece is to securing a contract, getting a job.
People buy from people. That's always going to be the case. And whether it's on Zoom or whether you had to fly on a plane for 12 hours to go meet somebody in Europe, it's still the same. People buy from people, and they buy more from people they like. So relationships matter. And even when I was early in my sales career, if you really went out on a sales call back in the day when you had to drive there and, you know, you had to actually look at a map to figure out how to get there, you couldn't just put it on your phone or type it into your car. The amount of prep that you had to do in those days was much more than now, where you can just push a button, you know, and you're in London. But the point is that by doing all of that preparation, regardless of how the interaction is going to be, the ability to do that preparation now is greater than it ever was. You can go on LinkedIn, find out where somebody went to college. You can, you know, we used to have to go in their office and look around at all the pictures to see if we could get a contact. You know, oh, the guy plays golf. That's good. Now you can do all of that work ahead of time and be much more prepared to start that relationship, which in the end, every successful job I've had, every successful client relationship I've had is all around being prepared and building that relationship. And if it's not going to be there, then you should go on to the next thing. Because if you don't have a relationship, you're not going to have, you know, a long-lasting business relationship either, my opinion.
Absolutely. Ladies, what do you think? Angie, you want to take a stab there?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to add to that, because I mean, I agree wholeheartedly with Bob. I love the 2 ears and 1 mouth. And you know, seek first to understand. That's habit number 7, right, Bob? In the 7 habits of highly effective people.
It is. That's probably where I read it way back.
Yeah, way back. Everybody read it way back. You know, seek first to understand and then to be understood. And it's really, I mean, that's good for the way we live our lives. And it's really hard because we're so excited about our product or our service, and we think it can change the world. And to us, it can, right? Because maybe it changed our world. But man, people respect you a whole lot more if you're really honest about what you can do and what you can't do. Because they do buy, people buy from people that they know, like, and trust at the end of the day. Because if we go into a store and the person who's helping you, you don't really like them and they're getting on your nerves and so on. Most of us have walked out of the store or found someone else and we just buying a pair of shoes. I mean, if you think about really doing some real business, and that's part of it, and it's being really authentic in it. It takes more time because you do develop a relationship. You have to learn what they want, what, not just what they want, but what they need. I mean, there are times for me, I call it managing expectations, because I'm in the D&I field, you know, and people, you know, a lot of times people are, I know this is going to be a news flash, people aren't excited. Ooh, yay, diversity training, yes. I mean, even though we know it isn't like that, right? So they're squeezing you into, well, we have our annual meeting, and if we give you 20 minutes, can you come in and get people to understand unconscious bias, don't do stereotypes, and think and realize how important it is to work well together as a team, no matter who you are, in 20 minutes? Can you do that? No, I can't. But I can give you a great introduction in 20 minutes. I mean, so part of it is managing expectations, and that's another reason to find out what it is that they need, because then they don't have this much of an expectation, and you know that the parameters that they've given you, you know, are not going to work. So part of it is being honest, and this is great. I think that's wonderful stuff. But in that time, you know, to me, what I tell them is, well, how much time do you need? Well, it depends on what kind of results you want. You know, and this, I mean, if you want to give, I told one client, a really big client, when this was like the final meeting with all the really big important people, the president and so on around the table, said, you know, I really do, to get what it is that you want, right? We need to go through, we need a day. And we need to start with the leaders, because D&I is really important. It was a big program they were launching, and we need, you need a day from our leaders. We really do. Well, can we do it in 3 hours? I said, no, we can't meet your expectations, but I can give you the best 3-hour training you have ever had in your life. It will be fantastic, but it can't meet your objectives, and here's why. I mean, and it's just being honest about that. And granted, he could have said, well, you know what, that's okay then. If you can't do 3 hours, we can't. I wouldn't have wanted to lose the contract, and that's why I said we can do it. It can be a great training, but it can't. So part of it also allows us to, one, do a better job of meeting their expectations, achieving their objectives, but also to really to manage us meeting their objectives, and but manage their expectations around the parameters that they give you.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. The advice to be honest up front, especially if you're trying to get a contract, to be honest up front so that things, you know, that expectation level is met on both ends, right? And then everybody's way more happy. Sandra, what do you think about those key ingredients there?
I think Bob and Angie summarized it really well. I think not only, you know, just to remember that you're selling a product or service, you're selling a brand experience. People like to buy experience, you know, that's why Made in Nevada exists. That's why Small Business Days, because people like that experience. They like to feel connected to a product. What is the history, you know? Who is this woman to create this soap, or, you know, or provide this service? So I think that's very key, not to, you know, and relationships is true. They're key to keep, and then also maintain those relationships, definitely. So.
Excellent. I agree. We're getting close to our timeline here. Raven, did you have any questions that came in over Facebook or anywhere else for our panel?
Yes, actually. I have a question from Mel Green with KME Architects. He said he'd like for you all to touch on teaming with larger firms or for professional services, how small businesses can be successful when teaming with larger firms. If you guys could answer that. And then real quick, Marcel from Nevada Business and Industry shared that to know what resources are available to pivot and recover, check out the tremendous business support ecosystem in Nevada. And he dropped a link in the chat for our attendees to visit.
I'll talk a little bit about pivoting. I mean, not about joining with a larger firm, because we're a small company. Those are tremendous opportunities, and it gives you a chance to, it has given us, and we've done that before, it has given us a chance to, because people also like to work with people that they've worked with before. They like you to have what has been your past experience. And it gives you a chance to say, man, I worked in this big, huge project, And this is that piece of it. And so I love it when I have an opportunity, especially if larger firms say, hey, we're working on this. Can you come in and do this part? It isn't offensive to me at all. I look at it as a great opportunity, and it gives us a chance to grow in a relationship that we haven't already had.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think I spent a lot of time on the other end of this, on the large company side, partnering with smaller organizations. I think the key thing is that it has to bring tangible benefit. It can't just be some superficial thing where a government wants to have a minority proposal, and so a large company goes and hooks up with a smaller company that may have minority ownership for the sole purpose of trying to respond to that requirement. That's the worst way to do it. It becomes pretty transparent. So I think the partnership is good, but it needs to be more solid and probably more broad than just the one project that it may be addressing.
Absolutely. Sandra, do you have any input there? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yes, definitely. That's what, when it comes to being honest and then being realistic, if you're going to hire that company who is minority, do it wholeheartedly. So I think we always said that you can smell that in business when you're really transparent and honest, and I think that's key. So yes. Mm-hmm.
I love that. You can smell it in business. That's excellent.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's all we have today, Raven, unless you have anything else. I don't know. Awesome. I wanted to thank all of our panelists today for joining us. And of course, thank the Urban Chamber of Commerce and Some New Marketing for doing such a great job gathering people together on this really important topic about disparity study. Again, there was I believe a link in the beginning, Raven, that you put out there in the PowerPoint where people could have access to that survey. It'll be starting up in September and go through October. So that's good information. I'm sure you can visit the Urban Chamber if you need more information about the study, but it is key and important to getting our minority businesses in Nevada some of these important contracts. So thank you again to my panelists. It was a pleasure to be here today, and everybody have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Let's go get some business.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.